Hi. Today I want to confront you with a serious question. Do you believe in God? Did I hear a firm yes or no? Or just a mumble of uncertainty and doubt? Well, most people have faith in something. Yet there is a difference between religious faith and, say, having faith in one's own capacities. Believing in God or a row of gods and goddesses is a matter of faith in something unseen and intangible, usually inherited through culture and local and family traditions. Most people are raised to a certain fate. In some cases, they cannot even escape without risking to lose their family connection or even severe punishment, as in a number of sectarian groups where religion is state-sponsored as a tool of power. In medieval Europe, the Roman Catholic Church took this to the extreme, torturing and burning heretics at the stake in stark contradiction to the Mosaic commandment, "Thou shalt not kill." Today is not much better. Evangelical, Judaic, Islamic, Hindu extremism cause the death of thousands every year. The more fundamentalist and extreme a religious faith becomes, the more extreme will be its reaction to opposition and deviating beliefs within their own ranks. In fact, this is religion being forced like a straitjacket on the individual. Free thinking is not only abolished, it is totally forbidden. And from this, norms of personal conduct are enforced. This is the dark side of religion, of enforced faith and dress code. If you grew up within a sectarian society, you may have noticed how this faith enforcement seems to be absent in the sinful secular society outside your sect or society. Anyone outside looking in will notice how strict religious beliefs are enforced in those communities and believe they are free. But this is also an illusion. They are bound by all the norms and the normality that originates from the dominating religion without even recognizing the connection. I will, however, leave organized religion, as you will understand, and address those of you who live in a relatively free secular society, whether Western or other. Most of you have some kind of faith in a divinity, a god, and this is not limited to those lands where monotheistic religions are, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, where they dominate. Even where it is almost secularized, religion sits, so to say, in the bone marrow of society, silently, invisibly pulling the strings of morality and law. God, Yahweh, Allah, Brahma are unconsciously present in people's minds, as exemplified by the atheist who starts praying when confronted with life-threatening situations. This hidden presence of God in the minds of even non-believing people is a very interesting observation. I may return to this, why this is so. But here we need to try to define what we mean when we talk about God, whichever name we give him or her. Children brought up in the Christian faith often imagine God as a very strong and powerful man with long white beard, an image not very different from Santa Claus or Saint Nicholas. He is very benevolent and kind, but later they learn to know him also as a severe and even revengeful being. Indeed, God throws sinful people into deep, painful, eternal hell if they do not behave in agreement to his will. The divine becomes wonderfully terrible. You who are watching this brief podcast may most probably lift this childish understanding. Yet the core is somehow how it remains. Therefore permit that I return to the question, not only do you believe in God, But what is God exactly in your understanding? What does he or she look like? Where is God? To define God suddenly becomes a bit difficult. Some would say that God is a faceless spiritual being, with whom resides all power and all knowledge. God is everywhere, knowing everything, past, present and future, and all your sins are noted in a huge book to confront you once you are dead, and there is no way you can change or correct anything. What a horrible, merciless moment. However, this may not be. Such understanding of God is quite common. In the Christian and Judaic faith, God is considered to be both omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, which is to say that God is present in everything, everywhere with no limit, is all-powerful and all-knowing. This puts man in a very curious and quite untenable position. Considering these characteristics of the divinity, we end up with some interesting contradictions. First, being omnipresent necessarily must imply that God is also within you, in every cell and structure of your physical being, even in your psychic and mental being. This is exactly what omnipresence means. This was an argument brought up by one of the most eminent Renaissance philosophers, Giordano Bruno, and sufficient for the church to burn him at the stake in 1600. When considering divine omnipotence, you end up almost exactly at the same understanding. God has all power in the entire cosmos that was created out of his or her unique will. This creation, therefore, must include every human being, past, present, and future. The power each one of us owns, consequently, may at the best only be an extension of the divine power of God. Then one must wonder how it is at all possible for a human being to engage in this individual fragment of power to act contrary to the divine. You will most certainly now argue that God has given us a free will, and that takes us to the third divine capacity, that of omniscience, all-knowingness. If God knows everything, past, present and future, how is it at all possible for a human being to have a free will? This description of God actually results in determinism. Any thought and future act of yours is already known by God. So all you have to or will be able to do is to fulfill the divine prediction as known by God eons before you even appeared on this little planet. There goes your illusion of having a free will. Still you believe in God, a divine being, probably the most lonesome being in the universe. No wonder he may find some company in filling up at least one planet with the immensity of the universe, with some beings he or she can play with. Imagining God this way is just absurd. Reading the Holy Scriptures, you will soon discover that God has provided more to play with. There is an entire hierarchy emanating from the Godhead. Thrones, cherubs, archangels, angels, and even the lowest levels of a few humans, the saints. This hierarchy falls perfectly within the pattern of religious Judaic Kabbalah, 10 levels above which God hides behind the 3 veils. The Kabbalistic pattern is also said to explain the steps of the creation of the world, as well as the ladder of ascent to the divine. Do we need this at all? Instead of moving any further into these details, maybe I should try to draw towards a conclusion. It should not be very difficult to realize that human life would be quite meaningless if already determined since eternity. It would also be nothing but the shadow of life if powerless in the sense of being just an extension of divine power, thus executed under the firm hand of God. any idea of free will would be in vain. The idea of omnipresence, however, may help us understand something fundamental. I have often referred to consciousness as the fundamental reality, the being of cosmos. I have explained how this consciousness at the most basic level builds matter, which consequently explains how consciousness may reside in matter. Hence, consciousness is omnipresent. I believe the inner, quite inexplicable feeling most people have of themselves, being conscious and alive, is the root of every myth and faith man has ever invented. From this innate feeling, we understand that there is something greater, not only in the sense of the universe surrounding us. We may watch the stars and be amazed at the vastness and recognize our own smallness. Yet we have a feeling of connectedness with the all. And this is where we find undivine, the divine. The ultimate Godhead of any myth or religion is developed from this. Divine hierarchies are human constructions. So also are all the attributes we give the Godhead. In this very simple matter, God is man-created. Moving from here into theology, the various clergies have an incredible knowledge about how God thinks, what he or she defines as sin, and how he rewards the righteous and punishes the sinners. All characteristics given to a Godhead are man-made for the purpose of ensuring the status and power of a priesthood and the class in power. We need to understand that the omnipresent consciousness has no such aspects. The God impulse in man created God out of imagination of his need to organize society in a very undivine power hierarchies. Therefore, it is heresy to say that God is within.